You're still watching The Fourth Estate, and we are discussing the impact of corruption on governance, looking at some reports that have come out both in the media and a research like by Standard Bank on the middle class in this country and how that is how sustainable that is. Alan, I was putting a question to you just before you took a break. When you see the levels of poverty, you say people are trying, but when you see the level of poverty, you see the level of investment that government has told us it has made into these people, and you see the structuring of our governance, where do you see the problem? It's the question I put to you first, and I'm putting the same question to you. Where do we lose? What is that missing part of the puzzle that needs to be fixed?
Largely it's with the people, because what the government has done, it has worked on the roads, the security, so it goes back to us, the people down there. What are we doing? Why are you waiting for Honorable Katuntu to come to your place to donate, to give you donations, for you to buy seeds? What have you done? Why are you waiting?
I thought because I don't have the money in my pocket to buy the seeds.
But you have the land. Land is money. You can use that land.
But
it's what I've been telling my people down there. A season of maize is only...
Some people in...
my people, my neighbors, my people in the constituency. The season is just 3 months. You can do an acre of maize and you'll have something to move you. You can do a business.
How much would someone investing in an acre of maize harvest in terms of money? How much do you need to put in as input cost, and how much would you get out of an acre of maize?
An acre you would buy, I do maize a lot. So in an acre you can get about around 500 kgs after harvesting dried.
500 kgs.
Each kilo goes, if now like we're on season, there's a lot of maize. Each kilo goes from my place, it's 600 per kilo.
So 600 times 500?
300,000.
That's about 300,000.
300,000. And 300,000 you harvest it in 3 months. That's about 100,000 shillings per month.
Yes, but
which is
now...
basically 3,000
which is 3,000 a day.
That is below poverty line.
You're $1.
You're $1 a day. And remember, this is a household with 5 people in it, so you're not dividing 3,000 to one person.
Yes,
five people, so each one is getting 500 shillings a day.
Why would 5 people work on 1 acre?
That's what they have.
No, people have land there and they're living it out there.
This is not meant to be disrespectful to Alan. But you see, I'm very intolerant to people who use the word people without breaking it down, really. When you say the problems with the people, really, I feel that is insulting the people. And maybe I needed to help Alan on people who think like him. That you see, when you're satisfied, don't think the hungry person is hungry because they're totally incapable of looking for food. So if you realize or talk about the middle class, has it ever crossed your mind? Have you lived before 86 in the first case? This middle class they are talking about, you would find if you went to a village in Uganda, anywhere in Uganda at that time, if you saw a Mabati house, it belonged to a chief, it belonged to a teacher. Today, a teacher cannot afford a Mabati house.
I think there are more Mabati houses today than there were in 86.
I'm very specific, if you listen. If you moved across Busoga, Kigezi, a head teacher, a parish chief, a sub-county chief was able to live at the Mabati house. That means all those fellows who earned income were able to save their income to put themselves in better accommodation. Who are the owners of today's sprawling Mabati houses? Middlemen, people who do nothing in town. People who run from office to office, selling air, wearing suits out of conartistry, actually. If you see the majority of the people, if you see a doctor unable to build a house, a nurse unable to save and build a house, you should be worried of how creating a middle class. These are people who could be able to save salary to even participate in agriculture. They can't do it now. The salary can't even enable them eat food,
but why
let alone saving.
Why wouldn't a doctor build a house of Mabati?
It is even a nursery. I am sure your child in the primary 2 knows a doctor earns 600,000. And I'm sure your child knows rent in Chireka is 400,000 a month. And the fees in a school is 800,000. This is simple. If you don't break that down, they don't represent the people. If you blame them, please don't.
Abdul, let me come to you on this same question. The evidence we're seeing, you just quoted for us from you have just told us about a letter from the president to the Minister of Works, What is emerging, this is a subject still under investigation, what's emerging out of Mukono Katosi is that some middlemen that Chris is talking about ink a deal with government, with a government agency. After inking the deal, slice off from the initial 24 billion that was paid, slice off 10 billion, pass on 14 billion to the Chinese company to build the railway. Meaning that, from what we're hearing now, that even with, because the Chinese have accepted and they're actually on the ground doing the job, 14 billion would have built that. I mean, 14 billion would have started off works. And the entire amount, the total amount of 165 billion would possibly build 2 roads. But we're spending it on 1 road that is getting lost in controversy because a middleman somewhere is slicing off a commission. How does this, you sit in parliament and you'll be calling, you're investigating this as well. What exactly are you looking for as you investigate things like this?
You know, sometimes we just get amused over these serious scandals and you just laugh because, you know, you can get a heart attack. But having said so, you see, in any corruption deal, any corrupt deal, procurement, everything is done at procurement level. What Ugandans have not been really asking, the serious question Ugandans have not been asking is, yes, you've done this road, but what is the cost? Because you do a road which would have been otherwise done at 120 billion and then you cost it 250 billion. The difference is between the procurement officers, the political leaders, the civil servants, and Chris's middlemen. Those sort of fellows cannot, you know, if you are talking about a middle class, you cannot have people who are not involved in wealth creation to be a middle class. It's artificial. You just have a Kazinda. Today, he's the richest, he has a hotel-like residence. Tomorrow, he has nothing. That is not a middle class. That's not a middle class. So, as long as, just this, you know, every year we've been asking about these roads, these roads, these roads. It is what is going on in KCCA. They have done a good job and so on. But have we asked the real question, at what cost? You see, if we are to do any project at the correct cost, I'm telling you, we would be doing 5 times better than what we are doing now. So, as long as we've not sorted out our politics, we are in trouble as a country.
Doctor, let me read again from this report. I'm reading it from the East African, and it's saying Uganda's middle class is classified as relatively immature and contains 150,000 households, 150,000 households. This is up from 37,000 in 2000, so which is significant progress. And then this number is expected to increase 4-fold to around 615 households, or 5% by the year 2030. I don't know what the projections are in the National Development Plan and Vision 2040. But by that time, the population of this country will be 60 million Ugandans. Still, you're going to have the largest bulk of the population really, really, really far off what you expect. And they're saying the impact of this is big companies, serious companies, cannot invest here projecting that there will be consumers who can buy from them. So you have a company that Standard Bank that produced this report is the one that purchased Stanbic, is the one that runs Stanbic Bank in Uganda. And what does it do? It says we are not investing in assets in this country. We are only delivering on service. Yeah. So come and sell off the headquarters, sell off everything else, because you cannot be certain about the sustainability of some of this. Now, when it goes to a question of governance, where should government policy be looking to actually rework these numbers and make sure that more people are moving towards the middle class in real terms instead of this 150,000 Ugandans out of 36 million today, or about?
I think even the 150, before you speak of those numbers, they have put for you there a qualifier that Uganda's middle class is immature. It's like a caveat on that 150. Don't believe it. Because even the 150 is immature. Now, if something has not matured, what has happened? It is either stunted receding or may not grow. So I wouldn't even read anything more into those numbers once they have put a caveat on the middle class they are talking about. And as you are saying, Standard Bank is coming in from South Africa. They are running here and offering services. They are giving you an idea. And bankers, I usually say, bankers are behind the growth of an economy like Germany. Because every time the bankers lend money to an entity, they have the risk analysts, they have the investment analysts. They are supposed to advise this borrower on what are the risks coming ahead so that they both secure this investment. In Uganda, I give you the money, I wait for you to fade, I come and recover. In Germany, it's a different story. The bank has to be involved. Now, here are the bankers who have analyzed this economy and said, for Uganda, I'm not going to put any investment. I'm just going to target service delivery. So they're even targeting that little middle class that is coming in by building shopping malls. The production of these entities is in South Africa, is in Kenya. So here what you are going to have is one big distribution outlet. Now that tells you what kind of jobs you are going to create. Tellers, askaris, and all sorts kind of things. The people to just guard that mall. You walk into these malls, nothing has been produced in Uganda. And what you are saying, that becomes an artificial economy. When the wealth being created is not being created from there, you are just an outlet. People are just coming to deliver a service, earn their cream, and move away. That economy cannot be sustainable. That economy cannot create the jobs. That economy would not even create that middle class you're talking about. Because the middle class they are projecting here is definitely the one of rent seekers, bootlickers, the fellows who are doing these deals. They are not even building the road, but they are actually the ones who are doing the deals. Look at Karuma. We were told somebody was watching them in Ichobe when they were doing the evaluation. It was another botched bill. Katos. The standard. So where is Uganda going? And we have moved into a worse situation where at least previously you used to have a company that would overprice but deliver. Now you're even signing with companies that do not exist. So you have moved from a worse off level to the worst case scenario.
But even before we
when you
there,
get
Charles,
anything coming in.
now, doctor is giving us what it is. You know my respect for him on that, but we shouldn't lose the point. What is the ideological orientation of the leaders we have? What are their motivations in doing all this? When we talk about a class coming, increasingly the growing class in Uganda is a class of askaris. Look at the kind of education given to particular segments of society, the larger population. And I can assure you on this show, whenever I'm moving anywhere, if I'm going to meet an askari, I greet them in Lugbar, in Acholi, in Lugisu, in Ateso. Majority of them. Is it by design? Researchers like you can do that. Just go, Abudu Katundu, move everywhere. Look for an askari. If you want to look for banana vendors, this people who carry things is chasing away in this town, you find them West Nile women. How did our economy reach an extent of having Basoga?
Orange sellers.
Listen,
Orange sellers.
if you want chapati, you find them in Busoga. Everywhere. Somebody tells you the best chapati made by Basoga. We need to look at the political economy of this country before we even go down there. I think the orientation of those in power was to come and determine who becomes middle class. And therefore, by their own choice, they decide, hold on there. You don't care about people, you care about yourself. Because if you minded about the people, you would not have disrupted the life of a medical worker, the life of a teacher, the life of a policeman. Policemen then were able to build. How did they do it? They first came and broke down what they call a state. Break down the bureaucracy. And then you bring in projectization of government. Government works on projects. There is a Minister of Health. There are 10 projects in the Ministry of Health. Funded by government, funded by donors. Those who go there, you don't know. The actual Minister of Health is incapacitated. The project, he was in finance. Finance is a ministry. FINMAP was earning millions of shillings. I'm not lying. These are all government employees. But the government has said, okay, for you who come from civil service, be there. And we are going to pick our project called FINMAP. We shall give them cars. We shall give them enough money. We shall employ then our relatives. So those are the people they say are in the middle class. Why do you break down government? Now, government suffers from projectitis. Doctors also have gone to write projects. So the actual state we are talking about is not there, because the design of those in power is to make people become richer as they want. If tell me a rich man in this town who is openly a pro-Katuntu and he is not suffering. Tell me a rich man in Arua, even in Kigezi, who comes out to say, I've made my money, go and ask Garuga Muzinguzi, you act with him. When he attempted to say, I have the money, but I also have my own orientation politically, I can side with Katuntu and Besije and not with Museveni. Ask him what happened. This is what's driving our class formation here. Until we interrogate those who are leading us, what is their motive? We will not go far. We are going to see many people becoming poor, and the rich becoming more angry and violent.
Alan, let me turn to you on this. In the last parliament, the 8th parliament, 68% didn't make it back to parliament. If you go to check today, 90% of them can hardly be traced. They have disappeared off the map. And you expect that someone who has been in parliament and served for 5 years, at that national level as a national leader, would be able to maintain a level somewhere, because that is what you expect jumps into the middle class. People who work for government, to weigh a middle class, is to ask you, Alan, if you didn't have a job, if you're out of your current job, assuming you're employed somewhere, or you were not earning from what you're doing now, would you be able to live the same lifestyle you're living today? How long would you be able to live that? 6 months? 12 months? 18 months? 24 months? How long? Majority of Ugandans, after 2-3 months, will have dropped and disappeared. That is what they call a relatively immature
Middle class.
or hanging on somewhere. That is definitely not good for a country, and reflects badly on government that has been committed to building this middle class as a self-sustaining, integrated self-sustaining economy. Yes, what needs to be done to fix that?
I'll start by telling Chris that you keep referring to relatives in government. Some of us are not even related to the people in power, but we are surviving. We are doing our jobs as in on merit.
I thought you wanted to leave, not to survive.
I run a marketing consultancy. I get my contracts on merit. I don't get them because I'm NRM, because I know someone in government. So for on that matter, if you look at the middle class, what is the biggest problem is, why is the middle class not maybe going further? Why is it immature? You find that I think the way Uganda is tuned, or how Ugandans are tuned, we are people who are excited, who get excited easily. What are you supposed to do as a man in the middle class? As a corporate man, what are you supposed to do? Are you saving? How many people do save?
Charles, sorry.
Answer
me this question. Ask me, why is it that in our free economy, we are free to participate, the majority of security guards are West Nilers, Acholis, Langis, Iteso, Basoga? Why is it that the majority of chapati makers are Basoga?
And why don't you ask, why is it that the wheelbarrow pushers, the people who sell food that we buy on wheelbarrows, are from the West? We have Wafumbira doing that. We have people from Toro. You know, we call these the Batoros, they are pushing the wheelbarrows. So I think it's a question of choice.
Then answer the question.
It's a free country where.
Choice, but is it the ideal situation for for government to say
people are pushing wheelbarrows?
People are pushing wheelbarrows, people are doing guard jobs?
For us who are into the area of creating jobs, this is what we tell people down there. Don't wait.
Did you listen to him when he was talking?
Yes, I did.
He's a doctor, by the way, in economics. How do you create jobs?
If you didn't get those contracts you're talking about, you cannot go out to get jobs.
How do we create the jobs? We are passing on the knowledge, which I would encourage the doctor to go and
Alan,
pass on the knowledge.
You are a marketing consultant, and this is a marketing report, which is telling investors there is a market here, or the market actually doesn't exist. The biggest thing this report is talking about is advising people setting up investments here on what market they are going into. And they are saying that market actually doesn't exist. There must be a problem somewhere. Do you think?
Actually, the advice is jobs are being created elsewhere. Uganda would only be distribution. So you're going to see more malls and supermarkets come in this country. Outside, you won't find the factories.
But then, how are we prepared as Ugandans?
That's the question
to
I'm
check
asking
our
you.
things in the market,
But
the
you're in
supermarket.
NRM, you run government. How are you
Gentlemen, let's
prepared?
take a quick commercial break.
We
And when we come
encouraging
back,
people
we'll
to
round it up
add value.
around
To
this
do- to add
issue.
value. There's value addition.